The special City Council meeting of the City of Victorville and the City Council sitting as the Victorville Redevelopment Agency Board. First item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have anyone wishing to address the council at this time? Seeing no one, we'll go ahead and move to agenda item number 2. This is a request to adopt resolution number R-11-011, titled "A Resolution of the Board of Directors of the Victorville Redevelopment Agency approving and adopting an initial enforceable obligation payment schedule pursuant to Health and Safety Code Section 34169. Mr. Robertson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For any staff presentation or questions, I'd ask Mr. Metzler to please step up.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, as you know, we're working in what appears to be a continually changing environment as it relates to legislation involving the elimination of redevelopment. And as there were bills and as there were actions taken by this board previously adopting to opt in to continue to operate as a redevelopment agency, Assembly Bill ABX 126 and 27 are the two bills that effectively cause for the dissolution of redevelopment agencies, but also provide for the opportunities to continue to operate. Resulting from the CRA lawsuit challenging those two bills, there was actually a stay approved by the court, and it was a partial stay. It wasn't an entire stay, which has made things highly complicating, I think, for everybody, and is largely the reason why we're rushing to you tonight before our deadline of this Sunday to adopt what we're calling the EOPS, or an enforceable obligation payment schedule. But effectively, the provisions that were stayed in the two bills require us to adhere to provisions of AB 1X26, where that is the dissolution process. So there's some procedural things required, this being one where we have to, or are required to, adopt a payment schedule to identify those expected payments to be made over the course of the next few months through December of this year, so that we can at least physically continue to operate and make the obligations that are recognizable to the agency. Subsequent to this, and presuming approval tonight, we would also then come back sometime before September 30th. There's another deadline, September 30th, where we actually have to adopt almost identical type of report, except it would differ dealing with the long-term obligations, the contractual obligations such as bond indebtedness and things like that. So what you have before you mostly is procedural as it relates to the bills passed attempting to eliminate redevelopment. It's a very comprehensive list. A lot of staff time went into looking at every professional services contract, every budgeted item, every owner participation agreement, and so forth. So you've got a laundry list of stuff. It looks like a lot, but that's the anticipated level of work that is expected to occur, that's actually obligated to occur through December. So with that, presuming approval of R-11-006, we would then distribute this to the Department of Finance, the State Department, the Controller's Office, and we're also obligated to publish this on our website. One thing about this report also is we believe it captures everything, but it can be amended if there's something that we haven't or overlooked. So there might be subsequent amendments to this. With that, staff recommends approval and is available for any questions or comments you might have.
If I might, I'd like to also add that the resolution preserves our essential arguments and that we do not acquiesce or agree to what the state is doing. So we preserved our right to be able to fight the fight, but this is done as a precaution, sort of belt and suspenders, and this is required by the statute right now, since the opt-in has been, the opt-in ordinance has been, or the opt-in statute has been stayed in its entirety.
Questions or comments from the council?
Yeah, Keith, a couple of questions. Some of these look like they're specific known amounts, and others look like they're the best estimates based on past experience of what spending is going to be over the next 4 months. Would that be accurate?
I think that's a good characterization. As it relates to the estimate, we relied largely on what's budgeted.
Right. Is everything on this list part of the RDA budget this year? Is there anything here that is going to require special approvals?
Additional appropriation. I believe everything's budgeted and
Okay.
They've been obligations from prior years. An example would be an OPA or a loan agreement where we proved it in previous years.
And the one that just kind of jumped out at me, a few of the larger ones did, but the rehabilitation of 67 units, is that a long-standing project?
That's a project that's actually underway. It's likely the Hillcrest apartment complex that's under rehab currently as we speak. Just to give an example, what we have to show and demonstrate in this report is while we're rehabbing the project, people have to get paid, the contractors, subcontractors actually have to get paid for the work to continue to perform on the job and not stop the job.
Is that part of our set-aside funds?
That is part of our NSP funding program.
NSP, okay.
Set aside is under different line item here. It's 18. Second one, that's 1 million, a little bit over 1 million. That's just an estimate that you have.
A set-aside is an obligation of the RDA, so we have to list on there the fact that we're going to take the money in the form of tax increment and then set it aside. But there are projects on here that are actually expenditures from the set-aside, like there's a 1.9 million, number 6. That's an expenditure from existing set-aside funds. So the last one you were referring to is actually just the set-aside amount for 11-12, and then individual projects are funded from prior years.
Now your
From prior cash balances.
Your pass-through, that those have to be paid in September?
All of the pass-throughs,
Yeah.
those will actually be paid in September because they're pass-throughs based on 10/11's tax increment. So when the fiscal year finishes, then we have to make the calculations. So we'll actually be cutting checks for those in the next couple of weeks here.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Cabriolas, seconded by Councilmember, it says Rothschild, but I think somebody must,
No, he
The,
said
I'm in the right seat. I may have the wrong mouse.
seconded by Councilmember Kennedy. Okay, motion carries with Councilmember Baez voting no.
All right, so that's all we have for this special meeting, and with that, we're adjourned.